Hi friends, my name is Anne. I'm a current second year student majoring in neuroscience at the University of British Columbia.
Hello, my name is Adeola and I'm a second year biomedical engineering student at UBC.
My biggest reason to stay at UBC was I had a couple positions from high school that I could maintain if I'd stayed in Vancouver, and so ultimately that was a very big factor that contributed to my decision in staying here. On top of that, the university also has a really beautiful campus, so I think those two reasons combined together really helped me decide to stay here.
The biggest reason I chose to attend UBC was because of their biomedical engineering program. I saw that they prioritized the course compared to other universities where you would have to go through the mechanical engineering stream or the electrical engineering stream to do biomedical engineering. I would say my favorite part of the program is the fact that the biomedical engineering program is a combination between the faculty of medicine and the faculty of engineering, and it's a collab to create a bridge between medicine and engineering, which is something I'm really interested in. I also think that the opportunities and the lab skills we get to learn are pretty good too. As a second year student, I've already gotten to work with mammalian cells and also perform gel electrophoresis, which is something that I never thought I would get to do, especially in engineering. I've also gotten to dye cells and done cellular microscopy, which is also really cool. I also like the fact that I get to meet with the program directors and go to research symposiums that are available to the faculty, which is something that I really think is important, especially when you're deciding between whether you want to work in the industry or in the research academia world.
At UBC, everyone in first year, you are in general science and you only specialize when you're in your second year. So this is my first year of my program, but I can say for a fact that I really do enjoy it just because the profs are really great and it's a really tight-knit community, so you get to know your peers a lot.
The University of British Columbia, the Vancouver campus, has 9 libraries.
The major ones are the Walter Corner Library and the IKB Library, as well as the Law Library. I think my favorite one would be the IKB Library. It's a great place to study.
My favorite would be Corner and Woodworth. Those are smaller libraries and they tend to be less crowded, and you can typically find a spot in those ones, especially during final or exam seasons.
But if you are also just looking for any places to study, there are lots of places on campus that are convenient, and also they're so spread out that you kind of can't go anywhere without finding a space. Vancouver, if you haven't been, it usually does get rainy a lot, but the community near UBC is really, really great. There are lots of places, if you like to thrift, there are lots of places to thrift. If you do enjoy the city and the beach, Vancouver does have a lot of that.
There's a ton of activities to do. There's always something going on, whether it's an art gallery to see or nature to enjoy. It has something for everybody.
UBC does have a lot of programs that we have, but not to my knowledge that we are very famous or very popular for. But we do have a really great computer science program, although I know it's probably not the top in the country, but it does get a lot of credit for it.
I would say that UBC is known for their business program, which is the School of Solder. It's a pretty popular school and it has lots of resources for their student. I would also say the engineering school is pretty popular. Lots of students from around the world come to do engineering at UBC.
A typical workload within a week does vary depending on your program, but I know for general sciences, so first year, I know for me, I definitely struggled a lot with math, so that took a lot of time, and that definitely contributed to a more heavier workload compared to my second year, which is right now. But I also think I do enjoy the program that I am in, so I think that also helps with lightening the workload, but also just really enjoying what I'm studying. So I think it really depends on your program, but you can typically look at around 3 to 4 hours, I would say, per class outside of lecture and your tutorial times.
So an engineering student like me would have a heavier workload compared to an arts or even science student. In my first year, I took 7 classes in the first semester and then 6 in the second semester. And currently I'm taking 6 classes, but it should lessen to 5 in the next semester. Some of my friends in science are taking 5 or 4 classes depending on what their semester looks like. And some of my arts friends are taking 3 to 4 classes. So it all depends on what faculty you're in. The workload, I would say, is pretty heavy per week. There's some weeks where you'll have midterms, multiple during the week, sometimes even multiple during the day. There's some classes that you're required to hand in something every week, but I would say the engineers and the science kids have a lot on their plate. But also some of the music kids have a lot on their plate too. So yeah, It just depends on how much work you're willing to put into the program you're in. I would say the biggest thing I struggled with in my first year was balancing and really gaining a social life. I kind of hid myself in my room and only interacted with my classmates or people I was in group projects with. And I didn't actually leave campus till around November, which was really detrimental to my mental health.
I definitely think it would be time management, but also just finding a community or a sense of who I am and what I liked. So I was really glad I had the entirety of my first year to help set the pace for that. And once I got back into my second year, it definitely helped keep the ball rolling.
I worked on that by tagging along with my friends to join whatever activities they were on. I even joined a non-academic club, which was ballroom dancing, which is something I really like. I did the school traditions, which got me out of my room and got me out of the house. And I just went on a bus and see where it would take me. And that also helped me gain a social life, meet new people, gain connections. And with that, I later fed back into my academic career.
I definitely think finding a really great group of friends and branching yourself out, never underestimate your abilities or your skills, because you never know what can come in handy. And definitely get involved in any clubs or communities, because that definitely branches you out to upper years or more friends, or even people with similar interests and hobbies as yours.
Hey everyone, my name is Simran and I'm currently studying health sciences at McMaster University. I chose to attend McMaster due to the popularity of its health sciences program. From what I read online, I thought that the multidisciplinary approach of the program would help me learn more about the diverse fields of healthcare. My favorite part about my program is that it's a smaller program. We have around 250 students per cohort, so there's a strong sense of community and willingness to help each other, and the upper years are always ready to provide advice to the younger students. McMaster currently has 3 libraries plus one that is being built right now. So far the libraries that we have are Health Sciences Library, Mills Library, and Thode Library, and they all have different vibes to them. So I think there's something for everyone. My personal favorite is the Health Sciences Library because it's a great place to talk with your group or hang out with your friends, but there's also a lot of independent study areas if you want a more quieter space. And then I also like booking the study rooms in the Health Sciences Library. They're great to book for yourself if you want to study alone or for your group for group meetings. So McMaster is located in Hamilton, Ontario, which is part of the GTA. So it's near Burlington, Oakville, Mississauga, and it's just a bit less close from Brampton and Toronto. I can't speak too much about Hamilton because I stay near the McMaster area, but it's definitely a smaller city and there's lots of student life because we not only have the main McMaster campus, but also the Mohawk College campus. And there's a lot of fun things to do. There's a lot of restaurants, trails to explore, just fun activities all around. And there's also downtown Hamilton if you'd like to explore that. So McMaster is known for a lot of different programs. I don't know all of them off the top of my head, but I know every program in McMaster has its own pros and cool opportunities within that program. So I definitely recommend searching that online. Explain more about how the first year workload of health sciences looked like. Your workload is going to differ based on your program and what kinds of classes you're taking, so just keep that in mind. But for first year health sciences, we have cell biology classes and tutorials that are 6 hours a week. We have inquiry, which is a unique class of health sciences. It's a very small group class and this lasts 3 hours every week. We have 3 hours of chemistry lectures along with 3-hour bi-weekly chemistry labs. We have a class called Interdisciplinary Questions in Healthcare. So this has 2 hours of lectures a week plus 1 hour of tutorial. And then we also have the Praxis Pathways. So the Praxis Pathways is another unique health sciences course that lasts all 4 years. But since first year is introductory praxis, that class for that only occurs once every month or so. And then in terms of electives, in first year you have space for 1 elective in the fall term and 2 electives in the winter term. I'd say the biggest jump in the workload is definitely the transition to university level learning. They teach at a faster pace, and there's much more content that you'd have to understand and process within a certain time. However, I think once you kind of map out where all your due dates are and where the big assignments are and have that like visually on a map, and you're able to like see patterns in, you know, like, oh, this occurs every 2 weeks or this occurs at this time. You're able to like better plan out and prioritize your tasks, and you kind of get the hang of it more. My biggest struggle coming to university was being away from home and adjusting to campus life. I think it's very different from like living with your parents. In a lot of ways, you're a bit more independent, or you have to be a bit more responsible. There's also like a loneliness, especially at the start, if you don't have as many friends at the start. However, I found that having a roommate helped because I always had someone to talk to, and also I talked to my parents on the phone every day, which is really helpful, especially before you make those friends. My biggest advice is to be open with talking to like new people that you meet on campus. I know sometimes it's tiring because you just ask the same questions over and over again to people like, oh, what's your program, hometown, and you think it's pointless, but really you never know like who you're going to meet again in a class, in a tutorial, and an extracurricular. So it's really nice to kind of just expand your network, and that way you have like more possibility of making potential friends and like kind of deepening those connections moving forward.
Hi, my name is Vida, and I'm a second-year student in a specialization in molecular, cellular, and developmental biology at the U of A. The two biggest reasons why I chose to attend the U of A are that I live in Edmonton, so I wouldn't have to move away to attend university, and also the U of A has really good rankings as a university. So continuing to live with my family obviously gives me more time to focus on studying and volunteering and just resting in my mental health than I would have if I lived with roommates or by myself and I had a lot of other house chores. And then also the U of A was ranked, I believe this year or last year, as the 4th best university in Canada, and that's kind of been a consistent ranking. So yeah, I felt really confident and happy about my choice. My favorite part of my program is that actually my year is the last year that has a specialization program available. The molecular, cellular, and developmental biology program still exists for new students. It's an option at the U of A for you to take if that's where you choose to go, but you can only take it as your major or an honors program. You can't really do specializations anymore. That being said, my favorite thing about my program is that it's very structured while also still being flexible in some ways that I think are important. So in honors and specialization, there are a lot of classes that you kind of have to take that are mandatory to finish that degree, but there's also a lot more choice in your 3rd and 4th year. There are a lot of different classes you could pick from that would still meet your degree requirements. As well, I can also take my courses in whatever order I want and more or less at whatever pace I want, which I also really like. I think it's important to be flexible. In terms of libraries and kind of how they work at the U of A, according to the U of A's library webpage, there are almost 6,000 seats in 8 different library locations at the U of A, and there are lots of bookable study spaces. I think there are 66 both individual and group spaces you can book. One of my favorite things about the U of A's libraries is that the different floors are for different kind of studying, in the sense that there's always a silent study floor, collaborative study floor. So yeah, you can really pick whatever kind of environment you like to study in. It's available at the library. My favorite libraries are the Rutherford and Sperber. I really like the Rutherford because it's just really cute. It's kind of old school and aesthetic, and I really like that. And the Sperber is brand new. It's an ECA, and it's just really nice. It's really, really pretty. In terms of the city that the U of A is in, so like I said, the U of A is in Edmonton. Edmonton is overall pretty livable, I'd say. My favorite things about it are that there are many cute cafes, which I love because I really like to go cafe hopping in my free time with my friends. And there's also a river valley with lots of parks, so there's a lot of opportunities to get into nature to de-stress. The biggest challenges of living in Edmonton are honestly that it's not really walkable, and you definitely need a car or public transit to get around, and the winters can be very harsh even for Canadian standards. In terms of any programs that my university is known for, I'd say just looking at rankings from the U of A's web pages, the U of A is really highly ranked in Canada for programs like nursing, various kinds of engineering, chemistry, and other kinds of science programs like agriculture and environmental sciences. But I also know a lot of people who go to the U of A for biology programs. I know people from different parts of Alberta, even Calgary and other provinces that go to the U of A for biology. There are lots of different ways to kind of gain experience in the Faculty of Science, both in your courses and outside of them. So for example, there's a science internship program you can do later on in your undergrad. There are research opportunities with professors that you can do over the summer or during the school year. There are research courses that are worth credits, just like any other course, one of which I'll be taking next semester. And there are lots of other kinds of opportunities. As well, the U of A in general has a lot of really good facilities and equipment for all kinds of biochem and engineering research and labs. In terms of the workload in a typical week, I think it really depends on what you're studying and your level of commitment to what you're studying. For me personally, I definitely spend most of my week studying. I try to get most of my classes when I'm taking like my courses for a semester in the mornings or in the early afternoon, so that in the later afternoon and in the evening I can have more time to study. I usually spend about 5 hours studying on like a good day after my classes. I rarely have a day in the semester where I don't study at all. Like I feel like that happens maybe 2 or 3 times a semester. And I also have like a few meetings and commitments a week for my different volunteering. One thing I'd say is that for new students, just be aware that like for bio, chem, I don't really know about like physics, but I think it's for physics too. Labs are a lot of work. They're really different from high school labs. Labs are like usually around 3 hours a week. Some of them are bi-weekly, but most of them are like per week. And then you also have assignments outside of that lab time that can be kind of time consuming. So I think that's something to keep in mind. In terms of the biggest thing I struggled with in my first year and what I'm doing to overcome that, I would say the biggest struggle that I had was just that I didn't really trust myself and didn't really have a ton of confidence in what I can do. Even though I went to a high school that I think really prepared me well for university, I still felt like uni was quite a jump from high school, and I just didn't really feel super confident. There were definitely moments where I psyched myself out and like expected less of myself than what I was capable of actually doing. For that reason, I haven't actually taken a semester with 5 courses in it yet, which I think was overall actually a good choice because it's helped me maintain a really high GPA and maintain my mental health. But one way that I'm working towards kind of getting over that fear and like getting more confident is actually like taking 5 courses for the first time next semester to show myself I can do it. I think in general, like a piece of advice I'd like to give to like first years is just don't be scared like to do things in a different way from other people around you. Just because everyone is doing them a certain way doesn't mean it's the right way for you. And one of the best things about university is like how flexible it can be. I know for me, like I'm really grateful that I chose to do fewer courses at the beginning to kind of acclimate to university, kept my grades really high, and it allowed me to kind of adjust. I know a lot of people who did 5 courses in both of their like first 2 semesters or in their first year and are now kind of scaling down because their GPA isn't as high as they wanted and they're a little bit burnt out. So, you know, just do things the way that you think actually works best for you and not like based on like what everyone else is doing, because that's something you can finally do now in university is just like be more flexible and do things your own way.
So good luck with your universities, and I hope these answer some questions that you may have had.